All right, will it work now? All right, now it is working. Now it's working, and now nobody is on. So now I have nobody watching, but the video is working. Possibly the chat is working as well. So we will chat check. I will talk to myself and type, and I can type and talk to myself now. Oh, we've got one. All right. All right. We've got one person on. So I guess it is working. Stupid roofer. What's going on, man? All right. So this is the third attempt, and it looks like it is finally working properly. Praise the good Lord, or whoever you praise. So, like I was saying earlier, got the Kyle Busch hat on, got the Tyler Reddick shirt on, and that is for a reason. That is because if you look at the average finish of the last, I'm back from my 4-minute NASCAR suspension, by the way. Tyler Reddick has an average finish of 3.0. Kyle Busch has an average finish of 5.7. Martin Truex Jr. with an average finish of 5.7. This is since 2019, so 3 races for most of these guys, 2 races for Tyler Reddick. Not sure why he missed a race, but he did for some reason. Anyway, Denny Hamlin, 7.3. Austin Dillon, surprise pick right there. Austin Dillon with a 9.0. Chase Elliott with a 10.3. Harvick, 11.7. Alex Bowman with a 12th. Obviously, he won't be in the race. Daniel Hemrick also, I don't think, will be in the race unless he's filling in for Collie or something. But he has a 12.0. Christopher Bell, 14th. 14th place finish. Ryan Blaney, 14.3. Brad Keselowski, 14.7. Kurt Busch, who obviously won't be in the race, at 15.3, and 15.7 for one Michael McDowell, who unfortunately will be losing his crew chief, but fortunate for the team he is going to. So that is your average finish over the last 3 races since February 2019, of course. Then you go to previous winners, and you've got, let's see here. Previous wins are Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. So there's your previous winners. See, top 5s are going to be Tyler Reddick with 2, Martin Truex Jr. with 2, Kevin Harvick with 2. Then you've got Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, and Denny. And then your top 10s are pretty much going to be the same, but where people start to stand out here, Kyle Busch has 3 top 10s in 3 races. So go ahead and put your fantasy picks in with that as well. So that is your statistical breakdown. And let's go to laps led because I like to do that one too. Kind of even actually with laps led. Martin Truex Jr. with 17.5. So this could be the race that Truex breaks through on. Denny Hamlin with a 17.4. Kyle Busch with a 15.2. So that right there tells you something already, right? This is going to be probably a Joe Gibbs race. But below him with 8.7 is Ryan Blaney, then 6.0 Brad Keselowski, and 5.1. So that right there leans toward your Ford drivers. And of course, Chase Elliott, when he won his championship, he got his 3.9% of the laps led that race. So Chase Elliott also going to be in the mix with that one as well. So there will be your lap leaders on that one, and Tyler Reddick with a 0.6 percentage of the laps led. So Tyler Reddick, he's going to be your favorite here, in my opinion, along with Kyle Busch. But if you're just picking by team, I would go with the 3 Toyotas and add Christopher Bell into that mix as well, because Christopher Bell is going to be your sleeper here. He's not on any of these lists per se, but he is in a Toyota. We know the Toyotas are fast here, and he likes to rip the top. So I got Christopher Bell as my sleeper, and then I got Tyler Reddick and Kyle Busch as my 2 favorites for this one. So yeah, just let me know who your favorites are. But let's look at the DraftKings, how the DraftKings has it rated. Chase Elliott getting that huge bump because his fans always pick him is at plus 700. Tyler Reddick, obvious favorite, he is going to be at plus 700. Kyle Larson, plus 800. Christopher Bell, who was my sleeper, but Vegas isn't sleeping on him, he's at plus 800. William Byron plus 800, Ross Chastain plus 1,000, Denny Hamlin plus 1,000, entertainment purposes only, and all that good stuff that I got to say. Ryan Blaney plus 1,200, Joey Logano 1,500, John Hunter Nemechek plus 1,500, Kyle Busch plus 1,800. There's your value pick right there. Kyle Busch plus 1,800. For a top 3 plus 500, and for a top 10 plus 250. I'll take that top 10 action all day. Martin Truex also plus 250 for a top 10. I'll take that all day. And Kevin Harvick plus 350 for a top 10. I'll take that all day. Plus 2,500 for Harvick overall, plus 1,800 for Truex overall. Let's look down here and see if there's any long shots. Plus 10,000 for Michael McDowell. He was actually on that list somewhere. And Austin Dillon is plus 1,200 for a top 10. So I would take that top 10 action. Eric Jones plus 10,000 for the win, 2,500 for the top 10, and 1,200 for the 2,500 for the top 5 and 1,200 for the top 10. All right, that is your breakdown. Let's see all of the comments I missed. Chat is finally working. Video is finally working. My 4-minute NASCAR suspension. The stream broke a toe link, says Bumblebee. No doubt about it. Let's see. Stupid Roofer says he'll take Larson, just a gut feeling. I think Kyle Larson is a great pick here. He likes to rip the top. We have seen Hendrick cars have speed here when Chase Elliott won his title, so I wouldn't rule out the Hendrick cars, but just going by the numbers, and I like Kyle Larson at any track. Always a good pick. And always by the numbers, you got to pick it. Also of note, of course, you got John Hunter Nemechek and Ty Gibbs also in Toyotas. So those would also be two good picks as well, as far as, long shots and stuff like that. John Hunter Nemechek had plenty of speed. So he was fastest in one of the practices, I believe. I haven't looked at qualifying or anything like that. I'm just still recovering from yesterday's race. I'm so tired, sore. My back hurts again. It's not thrown out. It's just sore. Let's see. Gregson is on fire, says Camaro 50. Yeah. If he doesn't win the championship, that's going to expose the system again over there on that side. So let's see. JD Mayos hoping William Byron wins today. Robin Mark says howdy from the Great White North. Take off. Yep. What's up, Canada? What's up, Robin Marks? 4 likes and 15 viewers, says Dave the Stalker. So go ahead and lick that like button if you would like to. Let's see. My picks today are the 1, the 12, the 18, the 20, the 22, and the 45. I like that 45 pick. Joey Logano is also really good here. So if you look at the other numbers, of course, Penske runs good here because all of Brad Keselowski's numbers are obviously from his Penske days. And you've got Ryan Blaney up there as well, and also Joey Logano. So Penske, it's going to be a Penske Gibbs looking day once again, but it's looking like a Gibbs day if you just go by the numbers. I feel like a non-playoff driver is going to win today. Call me crazy, but I'm going with Justin Haley. He's been on a heater lately. Justin Haley has been on a heater. Don't sleep on Justin Haley. He's been producing much better results than he did at the very beginning of the season. Swan Dog says, "What's up, y'all? I got Rowdy and C-Bell. I like both of those picks. Fighting for Toyota's 200th win, and I think John Hunter Nemechek can get a top 10. All right, so everybody's on board with the John Hunter Nemechek pick. He's in a good car. And he can get it done here. Jeff Sparry says, Mr. Baloneyburger, do you ever do race live watch-alongs? I do not because my internet's not good enough for that right now. But in the future, sometime, according to Starlink, sometime in 2023, whenever I get my Starlink, I will try that. As long as I've got good internet, we'll try to figure out something as far as that goes. I've got some different streaming equipment that possibly could make that work. So we'll see how that goes in the future. Let's see. NASCAR guy says Byron or Larson. Flip a coin, but I'm a Kyle Larson fan, so I'm going to take Larson all day in that one. And that's just my personal bias. But if you look at the numbers, neither one of them have really great numbers, but we know both of them can get the job done here. So I would just go with Kyle Larson there, but that's just I think he's a better driver right now. William Byron has potential to be just as good, but I don't think he's there just quite yet. He turned a corner early this season, but he has been in a slump since then. But if he can get heated back up, definitely could see Byron. He's been the best Hendrick driver in the playoffs, though. No doubt about that. Tom Harris says he would like to see the 23, the 48, or the 45 win. That would be cool. Those would all be good wins, especially John Hunter Nemechek, because we don't know if he'll get another chance in a Cup car. So he's really got to show out and show what he can do. And of course, the 48 or the 45, those will be huge emotional wins for those guys. Jeremy Isley said, I think YouTube would take them down instantly. Yeah, if they knew about them. So obviously, I wouldn't be able to put the actual race on the screen, but I could comment about what's going on. So I could do one that way. You would just have to be watching at home, and then there would be like a 7-second lag. We'll try to figure something out. I've got some people I can talk to about that. I could possibly get something worked out there where they wouldn't take it down. I could get permission or something like that. Possibly, maybe. We'll have to look at that. Swan Dog says Corey LaJoie for the sleeper. So there's some big news there. Corey LaJoie's got a new teammate for next season. So there is a chance that he could start getting better equipment overall because, Richard Childress is going to be helping Ty Dillon significantly with this car over there on that side of it. So I think it's going to be really cool. So I think going forward, Corey LaJoie is going to have a better opportunity. I think they'll have a little more funding going into that program. They'll obviously have more funding because they've got a full-time driver in the other car. So there'll be more funding overall. So I think Corey LaJoie will improve his record next season. And never sleep on Corey LaJoie. If he gets a decent setup, he's usually in the mix. Bumblebee says, yeah, we'd have to do it on Twitch or Discord. That's for sure. Then I'd have to make a Twitch account. And then after I made the Twitch account, I could re-record it and put it on YouTube as later. I don't know. We'll figure it out, though. We'll figure it out. We'll get something going. Leon's Automotive says, good morning, gang. What's up, Leon's Automotive? Good to have you on, as always, sir. Tom Harris, to win, he's got the 22, the 5, and the 1. Yeah, not a lot of people talking about Ross Chastain. Trackhouse doesn't have a lot of history, obviously. They've only had one season, their second full season. But Ross Chastain, for whatever reason, he was on fire earlier. He still hasn't really fallen off, but a lot of people not talking about Ross Chastain. He's been running pretty consistently, so that's a pretty good pick there. Kyle Larson, always a good pick. And Joey Logano, of course, always a good pick as well. So I like those picks. Good picks, Tom Harris. Robin Mark says, I'm going to go against my instincts, and Kyle seems to like him. So I'm going to cheer for Austin Dillon today. Yeah, I just like pulling for Austin Dillon because I don't understand why he triggers so many people. I just think that's kind of funny. I guess partially because he's a rich kid and partially because he drives the number 3 car, I guess. And if you're an Eric Almirola fan, obviously the Daytona 500. So I guess I can understand that. But other than those 3 reasons, I just don't understand why like the dude who's like 15th or 14th in points consistently triggers people. It trips me out. Because they're like, oh, you need to put a better driver in there, and then like every every Sunday that he doesn't wreck, he finishes in the top 10 or top 15. It just trips me out. But yeah, he's got a pretty good average finish here, so a top 10 for him here would not be out of the question. Jeremy, according to the numbers. Jeremy Isley says, Bumblebee 48. I can never find a live stream on YouTube. LOL. Yeah, YouTube's a little more hard nosed than Twitch about certain stuff. So might be something I have to look at in the future. I'm sure it's just the crappy parts on YouTube's part. Says Epileptic Bumblebee. Yep. I'm not going to say anything bad about YouTube. They've been good to me. So it is what it is. You just got to know what you can and can't do on whatever platform you're on. Sonny V, there's your politically correct answer, by the way. Larson said maybe a bit of extra motivation, says Sonny V. Yeah, could be. I don't think he really needs any extra motivation. He seems to be over it more than anybody. Like it never, I don't know, Kyle Larson, it never seemed like a big deal to him at any point. So other people have flown off the handle about it, but I don't think it ever really bothered Kyle Larson too much. But he's sort of even keeled anyway, so I don't think you would ever know anyway. Failure to pass pre-live stream inspection has resulted in the suspension of crew chief Rodney Childers for the rest of 2022, says Leon's Automotive. There you go. I have messed up, and now I have added to the Rodney Childers suspension. He is gone for the rest of the season because of my pre-stream failure of tech. I'm not David Pate. That's funny, but I'm not going to talk about that today if I can help it. That's been talked about ad nauseum, so I'm not going to talk about the DoorDash man if I can help it today, because I mean, God knows everybody's had a take on that, and everybody knows where they stand on that. So it is what it is. You either like the guy or you don't like the guy, and that's gonna judge, how you wished his suspension went and all that good stuff. But I will say this, and this is the only thing I'll say about it: it's got to be tough for any driver to watch another guy sit in your car and go P1 in that first practice. So when he saw that guy go P1, that probably hurt him worse than anything you could ever do to a race car driver, is watch a guy sit in your car and run really good. Leon's Automotive, Nemechek and Gregson are going. Gregson, we were making fun of this guy. He was talking about Noah Gregson, and he kept calling him Gregson. So I was making fun of that guy all week, and now because I was making fun of that guy, now I'm calling him Noah Gregson. So there we go. That's what I get. Are you going? That's karma, instant karma right there. Are you going to be battling for the lead alongside Ty Gibbs as well? But I don't think any of them finish the race top 10. Playoff drivers will rise up at the end of the race. That's probably a pretty good point. It is a really tall task in this new car to race it really well. I think you even saw that with Ty Gibbs when he first jumped into it. He seems to be getting his feet under him now, and Noah Gregson too. But John Hunter Nemechek is definitely going to have a tall task. I don't know that he wins the race, but I definitely could see a top 10. But you never know with these races if they get the right strategy, like the 2 tires, like if somebody takes 4 tires and they take 2 tires and they get track position, and this is one of those races where the tires don't really fall off or something like that, it could be something else. Tom Harris says, I have Starlink and it works great. That's what I'm hoping, man, because what I got is not great. CenturyLink is terrible where I'm at. Let's see. Jefferson Coaster, hopefully it's not a snooze fest like it was yesterday. Well, you never know with these races. So far, the 1.5s with this particular car has been good, so hopefully this one will be good. Jeremy Isley, I don't mean showing the race, just doing a watch along. Yeah, that's what I figured you meant too. So we'll figure it out. Like Keegan Schneider does. Yeah, we can figure that out. Is Starlink going to buy out other internet companies, says JD Mayo? I don't know. It could be a strategy. I don't know how they go about business. I know that guy. I know Elon just bought Twitter, and it's finally actually going through. They had a lot of weird negotiating tactics and stuff like that. But they have frozen the stock, so it looks like it's finally going through. So he could possibly buy out some other companies to get their assets and probably coverage area. So we'll have to see how that goes. BB is Brock Beard's better looking younger brother. That's what's up. Old Brock Beard. His dad, Brock Beard Sr., was the one that did the cannonball run. So that's pretty cool. He even cooked his dinner during the rain delay. Laughing my butt off, says Jeremy Osley. Yep, that's pretty cool. So we'll try to figure out something going forward. Starlink is going to be the key to that, though. As you will see in the coming months, friends that live out in the sticks say Starlink is a game changer. I definitely live out in the sticks, so I need the game to be changed, no doubt. Bumblebee says I have Chastain in my top 6. Yeah, Ross the boss. He's flown under the radar here. He hasn't wrecked enough people to get people to yell and holler at him, and he hasn't won multiple races recently. So people have sort of forgotten about Ross Chastain, but he's definitely a threat for this championship. And not a lot of people are talking about him. Sort of like that year, not a lot of people were talking about Joey Logano in 2015 or whenever, and Joey Logano snuck in there and got that title, or whatever year Joey Logano won. I can't remember. It's been a long time ago. 2017 maybe. I don't know. Whenever he won his. Ross the Boss will show up today. It's his home track. He shows up at the Florida tracks, very prideful in his home state. Yeah, that's another thing. You never rule out the hometown guy. The hometown guy is always got to be one of your picks. So I like that. I've forgotten about that. That's also a good angle. I think Ross has been driving cautiously, afraid of payback. I would agree with you, Dwayne Mansell, with that comment. I would agree with you until last race. Last race, he actually looked like he was driving like Ross again. So as long as he starts driving like Ross again, I think he'll be in a much better position. Also, you saw these guys no longer worried about points. You saw all of the playoff drivers no longer really worried about points because they know it's the final 8. They know you can't race cautiously anymore. So I think from here on out, you're going to see them let it rip. Explorer 33 says the 20, the 24, and the 9. I like those picks. Those are good picks. Mike Davis, love seeing you. Number 22. Whoop whoop. Got to listen to me more often in your final picks. no doubt. But I did pick Penske cars to win last race. So I was on top of it with the car. I can't remember which driver I picked, but I thought I did pick Logano last race, but I can't remember. But I know it was either Logano or Blaney. I'm always going to pick somebody over Blaney because I want to see Blaney win the championship with 0 wins, because I think that would 100% set off NASCAR to change the point system at the very least, tweak it. So that's what I would like to see. Yes, God forbid, speak the truth to power. Big Tech has these content creators by the gonads, says Traveler. No doubt about it. Yeah, you pronounced my last name correctly. Other creators can't pronounce it correctly. Can Epileptic Bumblebee shout out to him? So there you go, Epileptic. Get your guy straight. For once in my life, I've pronounced somebody's name properly. Let's see. Also, Jeremy Osley, if you have brothers, can we call you the Osley brothers? Because that is probably the reason I pronounced your name correctly. All truth be told, I have 0 grasp of the English language, if you can hear my accent. So I'm glad I got somebody's name right, because I always worry about it. I never want to call somebody by the wrong name, but it's hard to correct me phonetically through chat. It will be the 24 and the 9 show today, says Joseph Wooten. So it could be. Hendrick, when they hit it, they hit it. But if you look at if you just look at the previous results, it's going to be a Gibbs or Penske day, is what the numbers are showing. But you never know, especially with this new car. So Tony Stewart was supposed to be Grand Marshal today, but last minute change. It wasn't a last minute change. Tony Stewart said he wasn't coming. Has now switched to Kip Moore, given the command. Do the rumors about Tony leaving NASCAR have merit? I don't think he's going to leave NASCAR. I think he's just mad, and he's going to probably push for change. Let's see. He's definitely got speed for sure today. John Hunter Nemechek says Bumblebee. Yeah, I think John Hunter will be all right. Let's see. There were several cautions in the race yesterday, and also good racing. I obviously didn't catch the race. I saw who won and all that good stuff. But I was at South Boston for the Cars Tour. We DNF'd. We didn't finish. We got run into the wall, basically. So that sucked. But it is, and our car, we tested, we practiced well and all that. We bolted on new tires, and the car sucked. So it was just a bad day all the way around. But Carson Voppel won, and Landon Pimbleton and Lane Riggs put on a good show for the lead. They sort of got into it, had some words after the race. But all 3 of those names, Landon Pimbleton, Lane Riggs, and Carson Voppel, you will probably hear all of those names in the future. So it was really cool to watch them race it out and have a good race. Definitely fun to watch. I just wish we were in it and didn't fall out and have a DNF. So it is what it is. Let's see. Any other gang going to catch up on the United States GP in Austin? I would love to go to a F1 race at some point, but haven't managed to pull it off yet. You need deep pockets to go to those jokers, because those tickets are expensive. Valhalla Sports Talk on YouTube covers races. Pretty decent chat. Says Stupid Roofer. I'll check him out. I'll have to check him out. I like the name to begin with. I like Valhalla Racer. I like that name. So I'll check him out. Logan Sargent to Williams confirmed in 2023. F1 has their U.S. driver now, although it's not Colton Herta. So fun fact about Logan Sargent, his brother Dalton Sargent used to drive in the Truck Series back in the day. And he was, if you remember, he was the one who didn't make the playoffs, and Grandpa pulled the funding, and when he didn't make the playoffs, he didn't get any more races. So that was always an interesting story. Nobody has really delved into exactly what happened there, but apparently he had a bet going with his grandpa that in his rookie year or whatever, he would make the playoffs. And if he didn't make the playoffs, Grandpa could pull the funding. And Grandpa took him up on that bet. And when he didn't make the playoffs, and he was like the last guy out of the playoffs, like he was like maybe 5 or 10 points for making the playoffs. They pulled the funding. Like Grandpa wasn't joking with him. He was like, no, didn't make the playoffs. Funding pulled. So his grandpa owns the Performance Oil Company that you see occasionally on the Petty ARCA cars. Tom Harris says it's going to get crazy today. I agree. Stephen Roofer says break the system. I'm going to do my best. Jeremy Osley says, I was going to ask why have it on slow mode when there's not a lot of people in here, but it makes sense now because you're reading just about every message, says Jeremy. Yeah, I try to read as many of them as I can. I try not to skip any. I try to do as good as I can because I feel like if you're going to take your time to chat with me, I'm going to take my time to try to read as many of them as I can. So I appreciate all you guys and girls that are watching. Much appreciated. Do you think Noah Gragson is going to win the Xfinity Series? I hope he wins it because he has had by far the best season. But it's the playoffs. So if that last race, if anything bad happens, you don't win the championship, and that's my biggest gripe with that system. It shouldn't come down to one race, but that's the way it's set up, and everybody had the same rules going in. So whoever wins it will be the real champion. I'm not taking away from that. I just don't like the system itself. And I know some people do. So I'm not, if you enjoy that system, don't worry about it. I'm just giving my critique of it. It sort of is what it is. Do you think Bell will be super aggressive today, especially with the fact that he can get enough stage points? It could set him up for a shot to race at it in Martinsville. So I think he'll have the same strategy he's had all season. They're going to try to get a lot of stage points. And if they see that the car has race winning speed, they will probably abandon the stage points idea and probably just go for it. Because I think at this point, you can't worry about any of that stuff. You just got to worry about wins. And I'm not just Christopher Bell. I think if you're racing and you feel safe and your name is not Joey Logano, who is already locked in, if you're racing conservatively and trying to get points and stay safe at this point, you're going to be one of the guys that doesn't make the Final Four. Or and I just don't see it any other way. You've got to go for it at this point because any one bad race and you're gone. So you got to have one good race and win. Like you can only be focused on wins at this point, in my opinion. Bob Puckett says we're looking forward to the race. Love Homestead. There are cars in every lane, and it's cool to see them run an inch off the wall. I agree with you, Bob Puckett. I love it when you've got multiple grooves. You can run either the top or the bottom. So regardless of how the arrow affects the cars, you're going to have two lanes you can run, and that won't be necessarily anything that causes you not to pass. And they're going to absolutely be going for it because we've seen all season the guys that aren't in the playoffs, they don't care about the playoff drivers. They're trying to get a win to secure their future in the cars they're in. And the guys that are in the playoffs are going to be going for wins because they can't have anything less. They have to be locked into that Final Four. Plus, if you lock yourself into the Final Four right now, that gives you an extra week of testing specifically for Phoenix, simulation data and all that stuff, specifically for Phoenix. So that is going to be a big benefit as well. Of course, Joe Logano has multiple weeks to look at it. So he has the bigger advantage overall. So I just think it benefits you to go for the win here and not just run, a smart race and try to get good points. So I think it's going to be a great race. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. But you never know. Time to ride the Larson line. Yeah, buddy, says Shaggy Rogers. If you rip the top here, it's typically, especially later race, if you get a long green run, if you rip the top, that seems to be the line. If you can hold it and not run into the wall. Jeremy Isaac says I was tagging Bumblebee because she is a mod, and I can't say his last name, so that's what's funny about this. In Michael's stream, I can't pronounce my last name right. LOL. Yeah, that's I get it. Like I said, I can't pronounce his name right, so that's what's ironic about that. It is what it is. All good. Hopefully he gets it right. Ian Fisher says, and also to help him pronounce it, you can be like, have you ever heard of the Osley Brothers? And then, he gets to listen to the Osley Brothers because they make really great music back in the day. Could you see Bell or Reddick running today, says Ian Fisher. I think both of them will run good today. I think they'll both have good runs. Typically, here's what happens at Miami. You have one or two guys that go out there and absolutely dominate the first half of the race, and then one of them will either smack the wall and have problems, or one of them will just absolutely miss making adjustments as the track changes. And you'll see one or two of those cars that were running really good at the front not run good at the end of the race. And then you'll see a guy who has just like tweaked on the car. And all of a sudden you'll be like, where did this dude come from? And so that's typically what you see in this race. But I think it's going to be a Gibbs and Penske deal. But don't count out Kevin Harvick, and obviously don't count out Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson in the Chevrolets, or William Byron. I don't count any of those guys out either. Let's see. I got lost my spot here. Talladega Tom says the tires will suck again this week. I hate that, and I hope that there is tire strategy. Makes no difference at all. Yeah, I'm hoping that the tires have fall off, because when the tires don't have fall off, it just makes for a boring race because it doesn't matter how the pit strategy plays out. It's all if the tires don't have fall off, you just have to be the first guy to pit and not go a lap down, and then you've got maximum track position. Dwayne Mansell says my computer locked up, messed up about 6 minutes over a hard reboot. Oh, that stinks, man. I've been there. That stinks. Hopefully you didn't lose any of your files and stuff like that. Jeremy Isley says Cody Coughlin was pulled from the car after the 18th race of the 2018 season, 2 races into the playoffs. Oh man, that stinks. Elite Precision, what's up, man? Elite Precision 29. Check out his channel. He's got a great channel. And if you like it, after watching it, feel free to subscribe because we're going to get him there. He definitely needs at least 1,000 subscribers because he's got a good channel. JC Hayes, I wish they would go back to the way it was in 2003. No stage points, no chase, no nothing, just race. I'm with you, JC. And if you look at the fastest growing motorsport, they have season-long points, and it doesn't seem to be hurting them. So this concern that fans and sponsors want playoffs or something like that, I think it's an unfounded concern, especially if you look at the numbers, the TV numbers recently. The TV numbers from the playoffs have fallen off. So the gimmick is over with. Nobody really wants it. So if you go back to season-long points, it's going to be win-win. And I just don't see it any other way. Now, if you love the playoffs, maybe there's something you can do to tweak the playoffs. Maybe there's a different way of going about the playoffs. Maybe go back to the old chase format where you lock in, 16 drivers and the last 10 races, whoever has the most consistent last 10 races, I would be okay with that. But there has to be some type of accumulation of points. This one race deal for a championship, to me, I'm not a fan of it. And that's just the way I see it. I know some people like it, but if you look at the TV numbers, I have to argue greater good because I want as many fans as possible to appreciate NASCAR. For the greater good, you have to go with what people like. And right now, people are tuning out of the playoffs because the playoffs are not the attraction that NASCAR was hoping it would be. So that's my thoughts on it. Does any NASCAR fan like the playoffs? Some do. Camaro 50. I was unaware of it until I started my channel and started griping about it. But there is a good contingency of people who do like it. So yeah, there is a poll. So here we go. I'll do one myself. There you go. So now we have a poll up. Do you like the playoffs? Is the poll. So we will see sort of the ratio in the chat here of who likes the playoffs and who does not like the playoffs. So far, 0% for yes. So let's go. We'll see how that plays out throughout the show. Let's see. Leon's Automotive likes the playoffs. So there are people who do like the playoffs. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think they can be tweaked. I think the one race to decide a championship. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. It's going to be hard to guarantee yourself stage points today. Gregson, Nemechek, KFB, Suarez, Reddick, Larson will be taking points from playoff drivers. Yeah, that's also a good point. The fewer drivers in there, of course, the more non-playoff drivers are going to separate you by points and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. So let's see. Leon's Automotive likes the playoffs. So like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. Jeremy Osley and the very next race was Talladega, and Wendell Chavis unexpectedly retired after that, and he almost won that race and finished 5th. Talking about people randomly getting pulled from their ride. Hopefully. Stupid Roofer says, hopefully you're being sarcastic. Leon's Automotive, LOL. So Leon, Stupid Roofer is anti-playoffs as well. Let's see. Adam McCullough, what's going on, man? Glad to have you on here. Says he loves the content. I'm glad you do. I'm going to keep it coming as long as I can. Leon's Automotive says, no, I'm not being sarcastic. I do enjoy the drama. The playoffs great. I recognize the positives from it and enjoy it for what it is. I'm a fan of the sport, so what they give me so I support what they give me as a fan. Says Leon's Automotive. Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I'm not ever going to be one of these guys who's like, oh, I'm going to stop watching NASCAR because of the playoffs. I'm not going to stop watching it because of the playoffs, but I did prefer the older system. But like I said, this was the system that everybody had at the very beginning of the season. So whoever is the champion is the real champion. I'm never going to be one of those guys who's like, oh, he's not a real champion. No, he's the real champion because that's the point system they had at the beginning of the season. But there are other point systems that I have appreciated more. But that being said, like I said, there are people who do like this playoff system because, as Leon said, it does create drama. It does put emphasis on some of the last races that sometimes you're not going to get in a full season because in a full season worth of points, at this point, there would only mathematically be 3 or 4 drivers who still had a chance at it. So it is what it is, which, I mean, there's only going to be 4 drivers that have a chance at it last race anyway. So it is what it is. It's all in how you're set up. Bumblebee says, I'm no fan of racing 4 weeks for a 40-week crown. Yeah, so that's also tough as well. That's another fair criticism of it. Jeremy Isley says the 2018 season was a year Dalton Sargent was supposed to run full time in the Truck Series. That's why I brought up Cody Coughlin. Yeah. So it was 28. Man, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was that long ago. Jeremy, no, man, I've still got I've got a Dalton Sargent T-shirt, so I'll probably wear that for the Monday show, for the Monday recap or whatever. So we're looking at like a 78% no on the playoffs right now. So check the poll. So like I said, a good 20% of people do like the playoffs. So it's much bigger than people realize. And I've seen other polls, like when I put them on Twitter and stuff like that, I've seen it closer than that. I've seen a 60-40 no to yes. Tom Harris says one race for the championship is not good. Playoffs, I'm not sure about stage racing, says Blake Jenkins. The big thing with stage racing is they stop the race to end the stage. I think more people would be on board with stage racing if they didn't stop the race for the stage. Like, you raced up to this lap to get these points, but if you got those points, the green flag stays out. There's no yellow flag to bail you out. So the green flag stays out and you have to pit at some point. So yeah, you stayed out for those points, but you might have given up track position or something like that. So that's a definite, would be a game changer. I think more people would be on board if they would stopping the race with a yellow flag, an unnecessary yellow flag for the end of the stages. I think that's another thing NASCAR could take a look at. Good analysis there, Blake Jenkins. I always forget to talk about that. Swan Dog says the point system could be better. Yeah, that's true too. I've always been a fan of a F1 style point system, except instead of just through 10th place, take it all the way down to 40th place or however many cars you've got in the race. I think that would be a pretty good format too. Jeremy Isley says you're almost caught up now. Yeah, for sure. The playoffs need a real overhaul. Bumblebee says, I think so too. Now, how you do that overhaul is up for debate. So I agree 100%. Hey, BB, do you mind if I drop a link in the chat for Elite Precision 29's channel? No, go ahead and drop it. Sometimes YouTube will catch it and delete it. So if it gets deleted, that's YouTube doing something. But go ahead and drop it down there. That's fine with me. I have no problem with that. I would do it myself, but if I go surfing on the internet, the live feed is probably going to wig out again. Let's see. Camaro 50 said he just subbed to Elite's channel, so I appreciate that, Camaro 50. I think you'll get good content out of that one. I always enjoy what he does, and I hope he keeps cranking them out because he's got good content. JD Mayo says, I agree. They shouldn't need a yellow for the stage win. Keep them racing. I think so too. I think that would make the stages a lot more interesting and a lot more entertaining, especially on road courses. Road courses, the yellow flags for stages absolutely kill road course strategy. And that's what's actually hurting the road courses. For some people that don't like road courses, that's hurting the road course product as well. Camaro 50 says, don't forget to hit that like button. So yeah, if you want to hit that like button, I would appreciate it. Stupid Roofer says I could take or leave stage racing. That's kind of where I'm at with it. But I think I could take it better if they would stop throwing the yellow flag for it. So it's not something that's going to make or break me watching a race, but I would prefer them to keep it rolling without throwing the yellow flag for it. A change I would prefer over a points system change is perhaps remove cautions for, oh, there you go, Leon's Automotive. Remove cautions for stage breaks. The breakdown of stage points would likely change the format to support an older style of points. Yeah, because back in the day, I think you got points for leading at halfway, you got points for leading the most laps, and you got points for leading a lap. So stage points would be just a different way of doing something like that. John Crane, what's going on, man? It seems as though NASCAR officiating has become inconsistent after Brian France left the organization. I agree with you, John, because back in the day, they actually had a set of rules for everybody. It seemed like, at least, and they sort of enforced them. Now the length of the penalties and stuff like that would be slightly different. The money would be slightly different, but you did have the same rules for everybody. Now, in this new era of the Steve Phelps era, I'll just call it the Steve Phelps era, I guess. You see, they always say, "Oh, now it's a case by case basis, a case by case basis." Well, the problem with a case by case basis is once one guy does the same thing another guy does, and they get two different penalties, immediately you have the situation where you're like, well, this team is getting favoritism, and this team is getting crapped on. So that is my biggest issue with this case by case basis for NASCAR. You can't do a case by case basis. It's not fair for everybody. What they need to have is one rule for everybody, and when you break that rule, you have one penalty for everybody. And then that penalty can be appealed. We've seen the appeals system, and that's why the appeals system has no problem throwing out these penalties, because if you go to a case by case basis, they can say, well, that's just not fair for anybody. We can throw out any penalty we want to. A lot of criticism has been leveled to the appeals committee, but the appeals committee is looking at it from a legal standpoint, and they're like, well, if you're doing a case by case basis, that's not fair for them, so we're going to throw it out. That's basically all they have to say, in my opinion. So if NASCAR can get off this case by case basis, I think that'll help them out just as much as anything else, because one team getting a penalty for one thing and another team getting a penalty for another, it's just ridiculous. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know. There's so much I could talk about that, but I don't really want to get into it. But yeah, they've been super inconsistent, and they need to tighten up on it. They need one rule for everybody. I'm still wondering how Tony came back. I came from the back of the field to beat Carl. Yeah, that was another one. They tied, actually. He didn't beat him. They tied, and it went to a tiebreaker. And Tony Stewart had the tiebreaker. So yeah. Let's see. Leon's Automotive says the current format the drivers are used to, we could see less parity in stage winners, and consistency would be rewarded as well. I think so too. That's one thing. I would like to see consistency rewarded a little bit more than it is now, but hard to reward consistency in a playoff format. So we'll have to see what kind of tweaks they can make, if they're going to make any. But I think if Chase Elliott doesn't win this championship, I think you will see some tweaks made to the format, in my opinion, or at least maybe that's what I'm hoping. Let's see. JC Hayes says, here's what I think they should stay with their stupid stage racing. But once they throw the caution, invert the field for the next stage. There you go. Field inverts, also controversial. If you ask any short track racer, the field inverts get sort of just as controversial, because you never know if a guy's sandbagging and running in like 6th or 8th place to catch that invert so he can win the second race. Because normally when you have a twin race, they'll do a field invert, and guys will play games like that. So that would be controversial as well. So anything you do is going to be controversial. The original chase format was good. They just kept adding to it and making it more and more wide open and gimmick based, and it's really hurt a lot of what it's meant to be. I agree with that. It's just what NASCAR does, unfortunately, at the Cup level. They see something does decently, and then they're like, oh, we got to add more of it. I just don't. And then you get something that's just way overblown. and she says it's way too overblown, and it's just not what most of us want to see. I agree with that. I'm not used to running at the front, but I don't lift, says Dwayne Mansell. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that today. That's been covered extensively. But it is what it is. But speaking of inconsistency, Stupid Roofer says it's so inconsistent. This is why I believe Harvick is out. Yeah, so I mean, you got a situation where they're suspending. Let's just say it like it is. Their rules are so inconsistent. You're suspending crew chiefs and tire changers for 4 races for not putting on a tire, and then you've got a guy who intentionally wrecked somebody and he gets 1 race, which 1 or 2 races for intentionally wrecking a guy, I'm actually okay with. I don't think that's a terrible penalty. But what I do think is a terrible penalty is losing your crew chief and your tire changer and gas man for 4 races, or jack man, however you play it, for 4 races because they didn't put a tire on correctly. Like, that is just so out of balance. I just don't get it. And they say that that's for safety, right? The 4 races is for safety. But you've actually made it unsafe because you've taken the professional tire changer, the professional jackman, and the crew chief that oversees them. You've taken the professionals away, and now you've got a fill-in person who might not be as good at it. So have you really made it more safe, or have you made it less safe? I would say you have made it less safe. But that's just my opinion. Sheriff Buford T. Justice leadership in NASCAR needs to be implemented. There you go. We need the Diablo Burger rules book, Leon's Automotive, with a Dr. Pepper. So I agree with you. With Walker Texas Ranger in the NASCAR hauler for disciplinary actions. That's right. And he's got to bring the Dodge truck with him. Avia Mike says, JC Hayes, instead of inverting the field, I think all the lap cars should be automatically unlapped or unlapped by 1 lap if they are lapped, so everyone has a chance. I mean, it makes just as much sense as the lucky dog, because back in the day, all your lap cars had to line up on the inside. It was all single file restarts back in the day, and then your lap cars would line up on the inside and try to get their lap back, or they would stay out and get the wave around by not taking tires. So back in the day, actually more people could get their laps back than just the lucky dog. So it's just a different way of playing it. Bumblebee says, I'll show you some bitches how to run things. Buford T. Justice. There you go. I don't have a good Buford T. Justice impersonation. But he was definitely, Jackie Gleason was definitely the man in that role. That was pretty funny. I'm rooting for Chase, says John C. Mitchell. Chase can definitely get it done here. We've definitely seen that in the past. So no doubt Chase Elliott can get things done at Homestead. And we know Hendrick can get things done at Homestead. Just looking by the numbers recently, they haven't had great numbers recently. Leon's Automotive, they couldn't close the umbrella. Getting some Smokey and the Bandit references here. This is typically the point in the chat where we get into the Yugo conversations too. So any Yugo facts you would like to spit out, let me know your Yugo facts. Here's a fun Yugo fact that I learned. If somebody told me this earlier and I forgot, I apologize. They made Yugos all the way up until 2008. So you could have got a GVM Yugo up until 2008. So there is your Yugo fact for this chat. I don't love the chase, but looking at I don't love Chase, but looking at who he's facing, he's most likely locked into the round of 4. I think he's going to take the championship, says Avia Mike. Yeah, he's had a great season, and I think as long as he can not have any more necessarily bad races, he will probably be locked into the round of 4. If he doesn't make it to the round of 4, oh my goodness, NASCAR is going to have something on their hands because his fans are vocal. There's no doubt about that. 72% no in the poll right now. The poll up right now is, do you like the playoffs? So chime in if you feel like it. JC Hayes, it seems like this when it comes to getting penalized. If you drive a Toyota, you don't get penalized. Look at what happened at Pocono with Denny and Kyle. And then look at what recently happened to Bubba. So your overall argument is that bigger teams, and this because Toyota is really just one team, Joe Gibbs Racing and the Joe Gibbs Racing satellite of Denny Hamlin, Michael Jordan, 2311. So if you're a bigger team like Toyota, and we'll just take it to Rick Hendrick, Hendrick Motorsports, Penske. If you're a bigger team like that, you don't get penalized as hard. And then if you're a smaller team, you definitely get penalized harder. That's the way I've always seen it. So I do agree. I do agree that that is the case most of the time, because we saw Mike Harmon get the freaking rule book thrown at him for doing demonstration laps in Xfinity Series cars. And they tried to throw the book at Mike Harmon. Like, this dude is, let's just be honest about it, man. Has Mike Harmon Racing looked like it's contended for a win here recently? So was there really any need to throw the rule book there? So that was just NASCAR being typical NASCAR. I just don't even know what to say about that, because it still makes me angry. But they got out of it with their appeal, and I was glad about that. So I'll leave it at that. Chase has massively struggled to be consistent this entire playoffs. Him winning the title is definitely no longer the lock it was 7 weeks ago. I agree, but like old school points, Chase Elliott already has this thing in the bag almost. So that's what makes it hard to sort of wrap your head around, because he's by far had the best season. Let's see. Philip Canavan, NASCAR needs a major overhaul. I don't know about NASCAR, but the point system definitely is a major overhaul, and the safety of the car needs a major overhaul. So yeah, some of the other stuff they've done has been good though. I like the rotation of tracks. They might have added one too many road courses, I will say that. But I do like the rotation of tracks, how they're going into different markets, because there's a lot of race fans all over the country who no longer get a race. So I would like to see those race fans in those areas at least have a chance to see a live NASCAR Cup Series race in their region. So I do like that NASCAR is expanding out into different regions. I do think that is a positive. So there are positives and there are definitely negatives you can look at. We don't talk about the positives nearly enough, but there are also, a lot of negatives. And human nature is to focus on the negative. It is what it is. Ross Chastain for the championship, says Mark Barnum. That's a good pick. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Ross, and they shouldn't be. I agree, BB48. Chase hasn't lost the playoffs. Chase hasn't had the playoffs to prove he's a champion. If this was the old Chase, he's 3 to 4 mediocre races, not really at 100%. But who has been in this playoffs? Yeah, that's true. Nobody. I don't know. It's been a weird playoffs. The guys that have dominated all season have not dominated in the playoffs, and that's been sort of bizarre. I like most drivers, but Elliott, Blaney, and LaJoy are my favorites, says Holly Golden. Those are good picks right there. I like all those guys. I think most people like Chase Elliott. I think the only thing going with Chase Elliott is he has some super passionate fans. So I think everybody actually likes Chase Elliott. I think some Chase Elliott fans turn people off. Blake Jenkins says yesterday's Xfinity race had some pretty good, clean racing, best in a while. Let's hope he does well. Let's hope Cup does well today. I hope so too. I hope it's a good race. The rules are so convoluted and complicated. I kind of get what NASCAR is trying to do, but they're losing a massive chunk of their fan base. I agree with you, stupid roofer. They've got to get one consistent rule for everybody. Otherwise, it's just going to devolve into madness. The case-by-case basis stuff has got to stop. Joe Logano goes 22 and 22. I think he's 100% our champion this year, since he has 2 weeks to work on his championship car. He has an advantage compared to everyone else. So I'm on the Joey Logano hype train. All right, Molten Rage making his pick. He's going Jolo for the championship. Bumblebee says, I want to take a moment to remember Dietrich. I can't say his last name. The owner of Red Bull Racing and former Cup Series. I just called him Dietrich. But he was the guy who basically started Red Bull Racing in the NASCAR Cup Series. And I think he started Red Bull Racing overall, but I know he was the guy that brought it over here to NASCAR. And it just stinks because he had a good thing going. He pulled the plug on the NASCAR deal, but he was really he was sort of an innovator. He doesn't get necessarily all the credit he deserves, but look at everything he built. And he was a successful Cup Series owner. He just didn't have like if he had Casey Kane earlier instead of just his last season there, I think Red Bull Racing could have had something. Even Brian Vickers got some wins there, and I was on the Brian Vickers train back in the day because he was a North Carolina guy, so I pulled for him. So they had good cars. It just didn't work out for them. They got AJ Allmendinger and then got rid of him for Scott Speed. Both of those drivers actually ended up being great drivers. You just see sort of by the time Red Bull Racing got good, they had already pulled the plug on it. But he was a successful owner, so it is what it is. JC Hayes, I agree. I think they should have just fined, not suspended. I find that over dramatic. Since looking at it the first time, he hit Kyle unintentionally, but the second hit was intentional, says via Mike. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. I've covered it extensively. You're depending on if you like or dislike the driver. That's going to be how you dictate how you would do the punishment. So I'm just I've given my opinion on it. I'm over it. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm really tired of reading about it. Some of the memes are funny though. Let's see. Lick the like button if you like to lick, says Mark Barnum. So yeah, if you want to lick that like button, as the iceberg says, go ahead and lick that like button. Leon's Automotive, it was blowing 70 miles per hour winds. Here in Tucson yesterday, it was reported a Yugo was seen traveling uphill. Laughing my butt off. Says Leon's Automotive. So yeah, there you go. The Yugo can now go uphill. If you can't find a Yugo, how about a Crown Vic? They're a dime a dozen, says Camaro 50. That might be the backup plan. A car like that, maybe a Crown Vic. If we can't find the Yugo, I have not found one yet. Not at a reasonable price, and I'm not going to pay more money than they were when they were originally made. Mark Barnum says, Leon, that Yugo caught air up at the top. I bet, no doubt. It was a rally Yugo, and it caught some sick air. Tyler S. I would even settle for a 2004 chase format. The playoffs are a joke. Yeah, I like if you want to do like a format like that. I actually like the chase format because it is at least it is at least cumulative points. So I did not mind the chase format. The only problem with the chase format is Jimmy Johnson and Chad Canals figured it out faster than everybody else, and they dominated it. But you saw toward the end of that run that the other teams had figured it out finally, and they were starting to challenge him for it. So Jimmy Johnson broke the chase format, and Matt Kenseth broke the original points format. So we need somebody to break the playoff format so we can go back to a point system that is enjoyable for more people than currently is. But like I said, 60-40, and this is consistent with what I've seen on other polls. But right now, we're at 60-40. 60% do not like the playoffs and 40% do like the playoffs. So that's what I was saying. You'd be surprised at how many people like the playoffs. Like I said, 60-40 is nothing to sneeze at. So that's still a good percentage of people that like the playoffs. And that's what I'm saying. If we can figure out a format that is cumulative so that some consistency is rewarded, but also mainly wins are rewarded. But I also don't want to see a situation where a guy like Chase Elliott doesn't make the Final Four. So that's sort of what I'm looking at. There is a happy medium in there, and I think that if you do the chase format with more points for the winners, I think that's a really good format. And I think going forward that could help, especially if you do the stage points without a caution. I think that would be enough of a tweak that would get more people interested in it, because that point system would at least make sense to more people. Now, what the playoffs have going for it is it creates drama. And some people like it just for the drama it creates. And that's the reason it was created. So there are several different arguments for it. And there are several different arguments against it. So it's just wherever you want to stand. But if you look at the ratings are failing. So something definitely needs to be at least looked at and examined, if not tweaked and changed just a little bit. Joey is going to win it all, says Stupid Roofer. So another vote for Joey. They need to get rid of the Roval. Some people don't like the Roval. Chase is the definition of vanilla. Tyler S says Chase is the definition of vanilla. A good driver, but I don't get it other than his driving ability. He is the definition of vanilla in public. He's got a lot of personality. He's just not going to show it on camera. I can tell you that for sure. Ty Gibbs starting near the front. Look out. Yeah, like I said, those Toyotas are fast. Don't sleep on the Toyotas. Don't sleep on John Hunter Nemechek either. And just don't nobody driving a Toyota. I wouldn't sleep on them because they're going to be fast here today, according to previous statistical data. If NASCAR won't change the system, maybe just award the points without stopping at the end of each stage. Yeah, I agree with that. By the time they restart, at least 5 or 6 laps have already passed. Yeah, so that's the other thing. You're sort of ripping off the fans because you're getting 5 or 6 caution laps, and so you don't get a full. The next stage isn't a full next stage, no matter how you look at it. Shout out to the GOAT. Get the likes up on this, guys. Says Zach Bishop. I appreciate it, Zach. I'm not the GOAT, but I appreciate the support, man. Epileptic Bumblebee says, please stop with Bubba and Larson. It's over and done. Yeah, I'm over that. It is what it is. He got a 1-race suspension. You could argue maybe he should have got a 2-race suspension because of Matt Kenseth got 2 races or whatever. But other than that, or some people wanted the full season, like Kyle Petty. Obviously, Kyle Petty feels like that because of what happened with his son. But other than that, I'm over it. I'm done. I'm surprised NASCAR suspended him. I will say that because they've been lenient on safety all year. But other than that, I got nothing else to say about it. I'm talked out about that one. I did an hour and a half live stream about it, so I got all those feelings and stuff out there. But he definitely should have been suspended. And the fact that he only got 1 race, and the fact that if you have a tire come off, those guys get 4 races, that is a glaring inconsistency that needs to be looked at as well. So once again, NASCAR stepped in it, and NASCAR, somebody needs to hold them accountable for having these wildly disproportionate penalties for stuff. It is what it is. I'm going to say this: if Elliott has the same performance that we saw at Las Vegas, he's not making it to the championship 4. I'm just going to say it. He needs to improve now. He can't have that crap. I agree. He's used up his 1 mulligan. He's got a mulligan's worth of points, and he used them up. No doubt about it. I still want me an old AMC Gremlin, says Bumblebee. So there you go, Gremlin team. We got the Yugo team and the Gremlin team, and right now, Crown Vic is the alternate if I can't find a car like that. Stupid Roofer says, you betcha, Bumblebee. I was about to say the same thing. So there you go, Team Gremlin. Let's go with the Indy 500, the only uninterrupted 500-mile race left in the world. Should NASCAR run at least 1 race without any stages? I mean, yeah, the Daytona 500 without stages would be fine with me, or at least not throwing a caution for the stages. I think that's what everybody's getting at. If you just don't throw a caution for the stages, I think you'll be better off. Michael Honeychuck says the Gremlin, I built a mini modified out of them. So yeah, they are popular for modifieds. Also, were popular for mini stocks back in the day. The Chevy Vega was also a very popular mini stock back in the day. Also a good drag car, because the Chevy Vega you could also fit a V8 in. So let's see the Gremlin. The Gremlin might be ugly, but it's effective. If there's a difference between a Yugo and a K car, who could win? Oh, that's a good question. If it's an endurance race, do they even make it a combined total of 12 hours? That's the real question. Does either car stay on the track for longer than 6 hours without breaking down, like catastrophically, to where you couldn't fix it within that day? That's the real question, Philip. So that's a great question. Maybe that needs to be the poll. Let's see. Speaking of polls, playoffs, do you like the playoffs or not? That is the poll. If you haven't chimed in and would like to chime in, that is the poll going right now. Probably close it out here. Probably do about 15 or 20 more minutes and then close it out, because I'm sure you guys want to catch the pre-race that they actually do on the networks with the fancy graphics and whatnot that I don't have just yet. Maybe one day. Ford Pintos are hard to find too, with a Coyote engine for the win. Yeah, we're gonna need to do really good on the channel to afford a Coyote engine. And with the part shortage, if you can even get them. Ford's having some serious troubles with the late model engines. We can't get if you want a Ford late model engine, they're really hard to find right now too. Let's see. Do I like the playoffs? As a Gordon fan who, yeah, there you go. I knew that was coming. As a Gordon fan who would have had 7 championships, no. As a Byron fan who wouldn't have a shot this year without them, yes. So there you go. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but the big rumor is if William Byron makes the final four playoff race, he is going to run the Flame 24 paint scheme that Jeff Gordon ran that everybody was sort of hyped about this year when he brought it back. So the DuPont Flame car will be back for the Miami race if William Byron makes the Final Four. So if you like that car, you're obviously pulling for William Byron to make that Final Four. Let's see. Playoffs make lazy teams after winning a race you're in. Yeah, and basically you just R&D for certain particular races, says old home guy. I agree with that, but also the chase format, that's sort of what Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus did. They would win a couple races early in the season, and then they would just basically R&D for the last 10 races, practice. That's back when you could still practice. So they would just go practice for the last 10 races and get those cars absolutely dynamite for those last 10 races. And you saw it with his performance in the last 10 races. That's what I'm saying. They cracked the system before anybody did. And if other teams had taken that same approach, they would have had a better chance of beating him back then. Not to take anything away from them. They figured out how to win back then. And I mean, the 84 wins speaks for itself. They had it going on. I heard Talladega Tom says, I heard that Bubba is having crow for lunch today. Michael Honeychuck says John Hunter Nemechek will probably win. He's got a good car. The Toyotas will be fast. Going to be a big step up for him in this new car because although he's run Cup before, he's not used to this Cup car. So it's going to be a big change for him. But like I said, if they can get the pit strategy right, they'll probably have a good chance because I think the Toyotas will be very fast today. I was down with some sort of playoff system, but this Frankenstein system they have now just doesn't work, says Stupid Roofer. Yeah, I think a lot of people wouldn't mind a playoff system, but it just needs to be tweaked just a little bit because you can't have guys like Kevin Harvick the year he won 9 races not make the Final Four. You can't have a guy like Chase Elliott this year who has absolutely had the best season by far not even make the playoffs. So I agree. Jimmy Johnson benefited from Lowe's, Martinsville, Texas, were playoff tracks. He has nearly 20 wins at those 3 tracks. So that's another thing. There was no rotation of the final 10 races. That's another good point, Leon's Automotive. The final 10 races should always be rotated. That way you're not rewarding a guy who's really good at those last few races. That's a very good point. So that's something else that needs to be looked at. But also, to my point, they also practice heavily for those tracks. They practiced heavily for those tracks because they knew that those tracks were in the playoffs. So basically, if you know the track is in the playoffs and you have a good chance of getting into the playoffs, just practice for those particular tracks. So chicken or the egg, right? What came first, the chicken or the egg? But that is a good point. The rotation of the last 10 tracks should always be rotated. Maverick says, "Who is your pick for the win today?" I like Tyler Reddick. I like Kyle Busch. I don't know, man. I have a feeling. I have a feeling that Christopher Bell is going to win this race. So I like them. So if I'm going with my gut, I like either Christopher Bell or Kyle Larson. But if I'm going by the numbers, I really like Tyler Reddick. By the numbers, I like Tyler Reddick. But if I'm just going with my gut, and I know I said this is going to be a Toyota track, but if I'm going by my gut, I'm going with Tyler Reddick. I mean, if I'm going by the numbers, I'm going with Tyler Reddick. If I'm going by my gut, I like either Christopher Bell or Kyle Larson. And then Kyle Busch is also a guy you got to look at by the numbers as well. But I'm just having a feeling it's going to be either Tyler Reddick or Christopher Bell. So those will be my 2 picks. If I'm going by the numbers, I pick Tyler Reddick, and I never just bet one person, just so you know. So I'm picking Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell. Those will be my 2 picks, Maverick. Bumblebee says her surgery has gone good, so she's doing good today. So we appreciate that. Keep her in your thoughts and prayers, of course. Via Mike, I have a tight schedule today. I have an iRacing event, and then I'm going to try to watch the start of the F1 race at COTA. Then I'm going to watch Homestead. That is a busy day. So yeah, good luck on your iRace, Via Mike. I hope you get that dub. Bumblebee, by the way, got a win in her iRacing event the other night. So shout out to Bumblebee getting that win. Much appreciated. Leon's Automotive with the super chat. Appreciate it, Leon. He says Garage 56 should be an inspiration for road courses. I agree with that. So obviously talking about the Garage 56 car that they're going to run in the 24 hours of Le Mans. The Hendrick is basically funding it, and it's met some controversy from Denny Hamlin specifically. But other than that, it's been pretty well received, and hopefully in the future we will see there. And I think it's a possibility of happening because, like I've told you before, IMSA and NASCAR, they're owned by the same company, but they're going to fully merge here at some point. And you could see a situation where you have a 12-hour road course race and there are NASCAR cars on the course racing with them, because sometimes you'll see these mixed classes and stuff like that. Now, they might not share the course like I'm thinking, but it might be like they run the NASCAR race, then they start the 12-hour endurance race. Could be a situation like that. It would be a good crossover, in my opinion. Let's see. Talladega Tom says the Gremlin was a pretty good short track car back in my day. Yeah, for sure. They got the job done. The Chevy Vegas, the Gremlins. You saw a bunch of punch bugs with Porsche parts on them. All kinds of stuff was out there. And of course, the four-cylinder Mustang sort of phased all those out. The Fox body four-cylinder Mustang sort of phased them out. Everybody had a Fox body four-cylinder after that. Even to this day, you see a lot of Fox body four-cylinders. Let's see. Also, if anyone has been to the Daytona 500 before, any tips? I'm going to the 2023 Daytona 500. Really excited to be at the start of the season, says Avia Mike. So there you go. I actually have not been to a Daytona 500, so I can't give you any tips. And the last time I went to Daytona for a race, it wasn't nearly as built up as it is now. All they had was like a Friendly's ice cream across the road and a Hooters. It is so much bigger than that now. I've driven past it, not for a race or anything like that, but oh my goodness. And I used to park in the Home Depot parking lot. That's where I would park at. And there's like a movie theater across from the Home Depot parking lot. It's just so much different, so much bigger than it. Oh man, place is blown up. Let's see. Brought some beer into my seat. Brought some beer and get a seat in turn one, says Michael Honeychuck. I will tell, as far as seating goes, you definitely want to be as high up. I sat in the Winston Tower, which isn't an actual tower or a box seat or anything, but it is really high up, and you can see the whole racetrack. So definitely, the higher up you sit, the better it's going to be. And definitely take a scanner, because this is one of the races where they get pretty funny on the scanner because they've got time to talk. So definitely get yourself a scanner if you don't have one. It's one of the few races that I actually listen to the talk on the scanner over MRN. Normally, I just listen to MRN or PRN, whoever's covering the race that day, when I got my scanner on. But that's one race I'll actually listen to the scanner communication, because it gets pretty funny. Because the year I went, or one of the years I went for the Pepsi Firecracker 400 back in the day, it's when Dale Jr. was dominating plate tracks, and Kurt Busch was running the 97 Sharpie car. So this is probably 04, 03, somewhere in there, and 05 maybe. And Kurt Busch's car was tight, and he couldn't run the high line or something. And Junior was behind him, and Junior was trying to go forward. And Junior told him, go tell the 97 to run the high line so we can go to the front. And the spotter came across and he says he can't run the high line right now. He's too tight. And Junior said, well, tell him he better learn how to run the damn high line if he ever wants to win this race. So that's pretty funny. So you hear pretty good stuff from the spotters from time to time, especially at that type of race. La Grande China says, Logano goes all the way, saving me from having to buy a new hat. There you go. Keep that. He can keep his championship hat. Yugo fact, the name Zastava is from Yugoslavia. So that is a fact. And it was Fiat designed the entire car, and it's based off the Fiat 128. They just basically chopped the trunk off of it and made it a hatchback. So there you go. Reddick running the boards will be too good. Yeah, I like Reddick a lot. I think he's going to have a really good chance. And the numbers show him there. Let's see. Nemechek ran the test at Homestead for the team. He's ready to go for today. So there you go. He's got some seat time in this particular car. Gremlins were ran at the Daytona Dash races in the mid to late 70s. That's funny. I didn't know that. I'm going to have to find some footage of that if they got any. John Hunter Nemechek honestly kind of choked his championship hopes this weekend at Miami in the Truck Series race. He didn't even make the championship 4. All he had to do was keep the truck off the wall, and he didn't. That's John Hunter Nemechek for you. Logano is fully locked in, and people still aren't considering him a championship favorite. I don't understand. Yeah, like that's always funny to me. Like how anybody can't consider him a championship favorite at the beginning of any season or at the end of any season. Yeah, that's I agree with Jonathan W. Like, and this is basically what Penske has always done. Even the championship he won, he came out and said, he's like, once we won that first race, we just focused on the last 10 and got as good as we could. And they probably don't even care about these last 2 races. They're R&Ding everything for Phoenix. So don't count out Joey Logano. There's no doubt about that. Stupid Roofer going, Larson is my gut to win this race. I'm with you on that one. Tom Harris says, Yugo fact, new 3,990. Yep, we're going to get as many Yugo facts as we can. And actually seeing that number just reminded me, we just went over 8,000 on the channel, guys. So I really appreciate that. I will put it in the next video I do. But I've been away from my phone for quite some time. We were working on the late model to get it ready for South Boston. So haven't been able to catch up with any of the comments, to be honest with you. But I did look at the phone at South Boston during a down moment, and we've gone over 8,000. So, man, I appreciate it. You guys are all awesome, and I really appreciate the love and support. Definitely would not be fun doing this without you guys. So I really appreciate it. I think Nemechek has already checked out of the Truck Series mentally. Too many silly shenanigans. He's ready to come back to Cup or Xfinity. That's probably a fair point, says Leon. Leon's Automotive with that comment. Tom Harris is going with the 5 and the 22 or the 5 and the 20. Old home guy saying the 14 car for the win. Chase Briscoe Nation, where you at? Old home guy, Chase Briscoe. Don't sleep on that guy. He always shows up when you least expect him. He has gotten this far, and nobody has given him a chance, so he can keep it going. Jonathan W. said Logano is his pick to win the race and the championship. I like your pick there, Jonathan. Did you see the CAD design of NASCAR's fix for the rear end yet? I briefly saw it, but I haven't really examined and looked at it. I need to take a look at it, a closer look at it. But I saw it on Bozzy. Bozzy put it on Twitter or somewhere, so I'm gonna go back there and check that out. But I glanced at it when I saw it. I didn't have a lot of time to really stare at it, so I haven't analyzed it yet. But I have seen a quick glimpse of it. Old home guy. But maybe I need to take a look at it and break it down maybe I could do a YouTube short or something like that for it. Even though I don't like doing YouTube shorts, I probably should get to doing them. It is a good way to grow a channel right now. So how long have you been a NASCAR fan? I've been a NASCAR fan since 1965. You got me beat, JC Hayes. I don't know. I've been a NASCAR fan my whole life. The first race I remember seeing on TV was probably Richard Petty winning the Firecracker 400, his last race. So 84 maybe, somewhere in there. And I was like a little kid. How I even remember that, I don't know. But I mean, I know how I remember it because my dad and grandpa were picking on me, saying they don't think Richard Petty's ever going to win again. And I threw a fit and said he's going to win. He's going to win this race. And I was crying. And my grandma got involved. It was a whole situation because they had upset a child, and then they got yelled at. And they got yelled at from the women, and then they got it rubbed in their face because I picked the winner. So it was a bad day for them. So that was that. LOL for parking. I used to keep my airline tickets. So 84, I guess, would be the answer to that. I used to keep my airline tickets and get a seat on the backstretch and park in the airport parking. Short walk to the gate. These are Daytona facts for everybody. If you're going to the Daytona 500 this year, I drove all the times I've gone. I've driven a nice little nice little 12 or 14-hour drive, depending on how many stops you make. For me, 25 minutes from Daytona International Speedway. Worked just off of turn one. I always parked in the public parking behind the mall. Front side of the mall will charge. Rear is for mall customers. There's your pro tip. Say Kyle, not Cal. Yeah, there you go. I think I was on the backside because I never got charged for it either. At least where the Home Depot's at. So if you park near the home, well, I don't know because mine was back in the day, like I said. So my tips are not current and accurate. So follow Say Kyle, not Cal's pro tip, park in the back. Let's see. Explorer 33, Hooters has been, they are swollen, talking about the restaurant across the street from Daytona, which has a walking bridge that you can get to it. What is your feel with the playoff format? People are totally against it, and I don't know why. I feel it gives a short track feel, like your Saturday night local races, 2 heats and a feature. I would like the playoff format if the points were cumulative, so more of a chase format, but you give more points for winning a race. Because I think that would actually give it more of a short track feel. If you give more points for winning a race, and you could still reward consistency, like if a guy had a bad race and got a top 10, he would still be rewarded, but mostly you would be going for wins. I think going for wins is what makes it interesting. So if you make the wins worth enough points, you don't need a last race type situation like that. People would just be going for wins to shrink up those points leads of the people in front of them. But that's just my thoughts on it. But if you enjoy the playoffs, don't worry about it because right now, like I said, 61-39. So that's consistent with what I've seen across the board. Every time I've done one of those, it's 60-40. So if you can take the good from the playoffs and take the good from consistent season-long points and sort of mesh them together, and which I think can be done, you could have a good playoff or chase format, whatever you want to call it, for the last 10 races. AMC, Javelin, AMC AMX, and the Javelin was also a good race car. Don't forget the AMC Pacer. The AMC Pacer also put that in the mix. I think I'm thinking of the right car. But yeah, I think that was one of those hatchbacks as well. Thanks, BB. Good chat. Got to head out. Says Stupid Roofer. Thanks for being on here, Stupid Roofer. Always good. Happy race day, everybody. He also said, Robin Marks, I wasn't the first sub, but I did sub when there were only a couple hundred subs. I remember you, Robin. I almost died in a Gremlin. Long, scary story. Yeah, so they were not the safest cars in the world. They're pretty small. So for sure, no doubt about it, safety first when it comes to driving small hatchbacks. No doubt about it. Speaking of trucks, Thor Sport definitely told the 88. Oh, yeah, there was definitely a race. I didn't even see the race, but just judging from Twitter, there was definitely race manipulation. Jonathan W., do you think they will ever go back to the 5 lugs? I do think they will go back to the 5 lugs for Xfinity, but they'll never do it in Cup, Jonathan. I don't think. I think they're pot committed with the single lug for some reason. It's just one of those things they put their foot down about, and that's just the way they're going to do it. My uncle ran a VW Bug at Flat Rock in the mini stocks back in the early 70s. They were stupid fast, says Le Grande Chene. Yeah, there was Scott Riggs. If you remember Scott Riggs, his son Lane Riggs races now. Scott Riggs ran a Volkswagen Beetle. I think that was his first mini stock ride back in the day, if I'm remembering correctly, at Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina. He is from Bahama, North Carolina. It looks like it's pronounced Bahama, but it's actually Bahama, North Carolina. Leon's Automotive says, can we give a shout out to Stephen Parsons, Kyle Weatherman, Bailey Curry, all had mega drives yesterday. Kyle should be in the 34, would be a good playoff car. Same could be said with Parsons or Sage Karam. All those drivers are good. And hopefully they all get some money behind them and can get some better results in the future. Good call there, Leon's Automotive. Good shout out for those guys. Jonathan W., my first race was in 2001, Daytona 500 on recording that my grandpa recorded because he was a Dale fan. Right on, man. That's awesome. Jeremy Owsley says, you're old. JK, that was 10 years before I was born. Yeah, I'm definitely old. I was born in '94. That's a good year to be born. '94 was an Earnhardt year, if I'm not mistaken. I think he won the championship in '94. What is it, 93? Yeah, 93, 94. So that was an Earnhardt championship year. Tom Harris, born in '94, LOL. He was born in '63. Tom Harris, I'm an old man, West Virginia. Robin Marks, first race I saw was a snow day in '79 on ABC. There you go. That was the race. I was 12. It was the famous fight, but I didn't think that the fight was a big thing since I was a hockey fan. Yeah, that was as far as fights goes, that was sort of and no fight should ever be funny because people can always get hurt and stuff like that. But as far as fights goes, that was like the Monty Python of fights. It was pretty comical. It wasn't so much of a fight. Just more of a guy headbutting another guy's fist, as Cale Yarborough said back in the day, or Donnie Allison said about Cale Yarborough, I should say. I would prefer the Winston Cup style point system, says Quiet Cat. Me too, but there's a happy medium where both sides can be angry at the same time that we can achieve. Yes, sir. That we just call it compromise. Yes, sir. In the old days, hockey was the rough blood sport. Had their teeth knocked out every night, says Tom Harris. And don't forget, they didn't wear helmets either. Don't forget about that. Wasn't it Gordie Howe? I think wasn't he like the last one to not wear a helmet or something? I can't remember. Or he was the last like really good player to not wear a helmet. Maybe is what I'm thinking. Remove the win and you're in, and I think the format would actually be really good. That's a fair statement. I don't necessarily know that the win and you're in is a good idea. Leon's Automotive says, same Isley, born in '94. I was born August 14th, 1994. Mark Martin won at Watkins Glen that day. Valvoline has flown in my blood ever since. That's cool, man. That's cool. AMC Pacers were fish bowls. Yeah, the Windex Mobile. That's what I was remembering. I thought that was the right car I was remembering. Let's see. Say Kyle, not Kyle, heading out. Appreciate the comment. Love BV. Enjoy the racing and see the 24 in victory lane, everybody. So there you go. Look for that 24. Say Kyle, not Cal, is picking the 24 to win. Who is ready to go racing, says Elvis Fan 64. Leon, I was at Watkins Glen that day. Michael Honeychuck was at that race. How about that? That's cool, man. I heard NASCAR scouting soccer, lacrosse, and cornhole organizers for new executives, of course, because Steve Phelps came from the NFL. John C. Mitchell, I always learn something from you and other chatters. Thanks for being here. Peace, says John C. Mitchell. That's BA's. Michael says Leon's Automotive. I think Ryan Blaney has a good chance to win today. Ryan Blaney always has a good chance to win. I'm just pulling for him not to win because I want him to win the championship without having to win. So just to be clear about that. But if he wins, I definitely won't be sad. 1994 was also the year that Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger passed on at Imola in F1, and Ernie Irvan had the crash in Michigan as well, says Jeremy Isley. So that's also a good point. It was definitely a sad year in motorsports as well. Michael Honeychuck says, oh, yeah, great racer, Super Kale, LOL. Michael Honeychuck says, dang, I'm old. JC Hayes, everybody have a blessed day. May all the Toyotas crash and get them Fords to come on. Come on, Kevin Harvick. Says JC Hayes. Elvis Fan 64, we need another Earnhardt Gordon, Stuart Petty back on the track. Yeah, I would love any guys with the personalities that they had to be back in the sport. 1959 here, says Uncle Bones too. Do you feel Kevin Harvick is done next year, says Old Home Guy? Well, according to his contract and according to what Haas said, after next season, he doesn't look like he wants to come back, according to them. So we'll have to see. Kevin Harvick hasn't said anything yet. It could be that he goes late model racing because I know Roddy Childers is building him a late model right now. So we'll have to see what happens there. But there's a pretty good chance it could happen, in my opinion, because he wanted to be gone after last season. When he was talking on the Dale Jr. Download. Craig McTavish was the last player in the NHL not to wear a helmet. Edmonton Oilers, 1997. There you go, Robin Marks. Appreciate that one. Bailing me out. So Sonny V, old, my favorite drive when I was a kid was Fireball Roberts. Rest in peace, Fireball. So there you go, Fireball Roberts getting into the chats. The number 22 of Fireball Roberts. Camaro 50 with the super chat. Great show, BB. Enjoy the race today. I'm picking the 18 as the long shot. I like it. That's a good solid pick, Camaro 50. Just in case you were wondering about the numbers, the 18 is definitely up there with the 8 car of Tyler Reddick in average finish. And interesting that it is those two guys, and I'll leave it at that. Let's see, and I lost my spot. Let's see. Michael Mack says we need a NASCAR figure 8 for entertainment and excitement. I would imagine. Could Noah Gregson do the weekend sweep? Says Jonathan W. There's a good chance. Usually, when you win in the Xfinity Series, it gives you that big momentum for the Cup Series. So it could happen. How did I become a Fireball Roberts fan? An ad on the back of a Marvel comic was driving a Pontiac like my dad had, says Sonny V. See, that's something. That's why I wish the cars look more like the cars on the road, because that is like real stuff that makes you a fan. My grandpa had a Plymouth Belvedere like Richard Petty drove, and I would see old pictures of because that was one of Richard Petty's. I think he won 26 races one year in that car. And so that is part of the reason I became a Richard Petty fan. That and the car just looked really cool in the 80s and 90s with that red and Petty blue, that fluorescent orange really, but it looked red on the TV screen, which is why they made it fluorescent orange, because they had figured out TV color science, I guess. Anyway, Harvick's my favorite driver, has been with him ups and downs, but I think he's retiring next year. Also, Kurt, a good driver. Wish he could have seen him finish the season before retiring. Says Avia Mike. Yeah, same here. And hopefully he gets cleared so he can run a few races and say goodbye the way he wants to say goodbye. William Wagman says Preparation H is going to be the new sponsor for Bubba Wallace. Elvis fan, I was born the day AJ Foyt won the Indy 500 back in '64. That's pretty cool. AJ Foyt is another one that doesn't get mentioned enough, but he was a really good NASCAR racer as well. First race was North Wilkesboro in 1974. That's the first race I attended, Michael Honeychuck, not in 72, but in 80 something, 88 or 87. I'll have to look it up. But Brixton Bush keeps winning races, smart, smooth, and a good interview. Says Mark Wikowski. Yeah, Brixton, get on the Brixton train. He's coming. He's on his way. Stuart Haas will run 2 cars in Xfinity next year. They will run the 98 of Herbst and the 00 Deegan. I'm betting 00 Deegan would be pretty cool. Wagman is cracking me up, says Sonny V. Robin Marks, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. That's right. That was the old mantra. Mark Wachowski, Fireball drove Smokey Unick's Pontiac for sure. Smokey Unick had several drivers in that car, and he ran a 13 and a 3. So fun fact, Smokey Unick, one of his cars was actually a 3 car for a while as well. Old Home Guy says, remember to hit the like button. Appreciate it, Old Home Guy. Is Jeffrey Earnhardt still racing? Wish Childress would have picked him up. Hopefully Childress and Earnhardt can get together and figure something out for next season. But he has been driving one of the other cars in the Xfinity Series off and on. I don't know if he was in the last race or not. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to see it. Unick invented creative racing advantages, says Sonny V. Yeah, he created half the rules in the rule book too. He's got a great book. It's called Best Damn Garage. If you come across it, check it out. Let's see. Leon's Automotive. I found a newspaper article where AJ Foyt was arrested for speeding. Posted $20 bail and said he was traveling to Milwaukee Fairgrounds for a race that day. Didn't show up in courts. LOL. It's on my Twitter. That's pretty funny, man. I want to check that out. All right. And with that one, I am going to call it a live stream. I appreciate everybody who was on here. You guys make it fun. It is awesome. And it's always a good time. I love chatting about this, that, and the other thing. And the final poll was 64 no on the playoffs. So 64 no carries it. But like I said, you're always surprised at how many people do like it. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.